but nobody ever beats me.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Renegade Operative here, and it's firmly time to get our knuckles dirty with yet another pipe dream that definitely consists of a series that needs the biggest revival imaginable. I'm talking about the Def Jam franchise that had its humble beginnings on the PlayStation 2 with Def Jam Vendetta, which released in March 2003. Let me enlighten you with some history for people who aren't aware of the Def Jam franchise. So what's important to the roots of the Def Jam franchise is the main developers of the game itself. The main developers are a little known company based in Japan called the Aki Corporation. They were notable for making some amazing wrestling hits that you might have heard of back in the day. These games include the superb WCW vs. the World, WWF WrestleMania 2000, and WWF No Mercy on the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation console respectively. Aki's gameplay mechanics were praised for a good reason. They are quite simply the masters of the controller, and its prospect has blossomed from going to the PS1 to the N64 to the PS2 era. Their masterwork of multiple button layouts and technical aspects featured within their wrestling games is the stuff of legends. You quite simply don't see this much depth in wrestling games anymore, as UK, the company who took over the remainder of the WWE franchise, did simplify some of the actions with more arcade-like prompts with their entries in the WWE series. This pales in comparison to what Aki used to do in the past. Back on subject, the main goal of Vendetta was to create a Smash Mouth wrestling game where hip-hop and pro wrestling could coexist on the same playing field. Vendetta offered a lot of visual substance, in most of the arenas being junkyards, clubs, and wrestling venue rings, the works. The rappers even lent their own vocal talent and music to make the atmosphere more livelier. The game performed like your usual Aki wrestling game, just with the exclusion of the stun bar that was in No Mercy. There's also over-the-top KOs that you can do called blazing moves that can knock the opponent out in the most amazing fashion you can think of.
This is gonna put someone to sleep for good.
Anyway, after Vendetta dropped, it wasn't shy of criticism. People claimed that perhaps it was too much of a technical wrestling game and it never blended well with the hip-hop. Most gimmick matches also were removed, and the create a wrestler option was strangely absent. Let's fast forward to a year later for Def Jam Fight for New York, which released in September 2004. This was a sequel that fixed all the issues and quite possibly gave us the best game in the series and arguably one of the best street brawlers ever conceived. Def Jam Fight for New York freaking had it all. It had Creative Fighter, it had a nice story mode, it had special KOs where you could jump off the fucking walls and knock people out like Spider-Man with a hook kick if they were in danger. This game was incredible. Aki knew that in order to answer the criticism, they had to tackle it head on with the sequel, so the wrestling aspect was now dropped for more of a street fighting thematic gameplay wise. It was no pins and no disqualifications, just whoever you could knock the fuck out the fastest. More match sets were also added to the mix, like inferno matches, destroying your opponent's car, and a subway match where the end goal is to literally throw your enemy in front of a moving subway car. While a good chunk of rappers from the first game didn't return, there's a good selection of new and old to pick from in this new entry. And let's fast forward to Def Jam Icon. Yeah, can we just pretend this game was never made? Thanks. I'll give a few key points as to why I think the Def Jam series is still ripe for the taking and why it should return. Number one is that the music scene for rap is still booming, despite my personal opinions on me thinking that rap isn't that good as it used to be these days. Its popularity did not slow down. I'm positive there would be great opportunities placed on the table for many old and new rappers to come on board for a pretty large roster. Number two, hold on, wait a second, I want to show my scorn for these fuckers. The developers behind Def Jam Icon are EA Chicago. EA Chicago, you fucking suck, you fucking blow, you are horrible. Number two, don't have a game like Def Jam Icon. Let's be real, I played Icon for a little bit and it just didn't work for me. It was garbage. I hated this game so much. It was slow, it was sluggish, it wasn't even a game. It was not a game. It relied way too much on that beatbox mechanic where you could use the music to damage the opponent with the analog sticks, and when you did get into a scuffle, it was very basic. It's like they took the wrestling and the street fighting and all the stuff that Def Jam Fight for New York did, they took that out of Icon, and it was just boring. That's why I hate it so much. Avoid being like Def Jam Icon at all costs. If there's one good thing to say about that game, it's the fact that the lyrics are uncut. That is the only thing that Def Jam Icon did right, was uncut lyrics. I would like to see them in the new game. It's such a minuscule thing, but that's about it. So let's go to point number three. Point number three, go back to Fight for New York style. This is pretty much obvious. Even the PSP game, I played this recently, it replicated Fight for New York, and it felt a lot more fun to play despite the very jerky camera work. The fighting and hybrid styles that you had, which consisted of 3 fighting styles for your main character, was way ahead of its time. Drunken Kung Fu, Tiger Claw, kickboxing, and a cruiserweight style of wrestling just had a variety of combinations that were intriguing. Def Jam Fight for New York had a fast-paced craziness, and you could use the crowds for tag team moves, and you could use weapons laying around, and that could be expanded on, especially if you think outside the box, for possible multiplayer liberties. If there's one thing you could say, there's not that many brawlers quite like the Def Jam franchise, so EA, once again, just get on with it and make a sequel. This is Renegade Operative signing off. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Good fight, and good night.